Okay, so when I publish this video, it'll be Datta Jayanti, the day when we remember Datta, praise Datta, connect to Datta. So I just wanted to give a few thoughts about the Datta path, my perspective on the Datta path, from walking this path myself, talking about this path myself. The way we conceive of Datta on this path is not of a personal being, separate being, any kind of divine personality of past or present. It's the very essence of existence, the true essence of existence, the natural essence of existence, that expresses itself as this entire creation, as everything that exists, right? That dances as the entire creation, as everything that exists. For me, that's Datta. Okay, so it's exactly the same as people who have these conceptions of what God really is, what this and that God really is, what this and that deity really is. We're all talking about the same thing, really. It's the actual essence of existence and the essence of us all. Right, that's Datta. So, what is the Datta path as per my understanding? It's the path of being totally real, totally natural, totally true to ourselves, and gradually evolving and expanding through those things, through being real, through being natural, through being authentic, through being original. Right? Through all of these things, this path is not a forced path. It's not one where we say, oh, I want to be enlightened for whatever reason. Maybe we've heard about it from somewhere, maybe we've read some book, or maybe we're just bored with our lives, or maybe we want to be powerful, maybe we want spiritual power, maybe we want to be a guru, maybe we see it as a good way to make money, whatever. And then we think, oh, how can I do it? How can I get there? How can I make it happen? And people do this and they try and force it. This path begins exactly where we stand, right? So I want to talk about three kind of parts of this path, how it moves. The first one is individual alignment, right? So at this stage we forget about becoming the universe, becoming the oneness, realizing nothingness, realizing emptiness, realizing non-duality, right? Because these are just ideas to us, right? If someone can tell us about these things and in there and then we get the experience of that, fair enough. But most people dream about these things and then they talk about these things and they wonder about these things and they say all these fancy words, and these words have nothing to do with their lives at all. They don't operate in their lives to any degree. So the first step really of this path, the natural path, is individual alignment, which means just as an individual, as the person that we take ourselves to be, we become more aligned with who we really are, what we really want. And here I'm not talking about, at this point, who we really are as the supreme consciousness, as the indivisible absolute and all these things. No. We need to walk before we can run, right? And crawl before we can walk. First, we should feel that we're living an authentic life, that we're living our own life, right? that even we're doing things, we're doing this and that, we're able to make our own mistakes. Right? So we're not living through the ideas of somebody else. We're not living a second-hand life. So we see, what do I really like? What do I really want? What am I really passionate about? What really feels good to me? What do I want to do with this life? When we start living like this through these things, we feel more alive and we just feel better. We feel more switched on. We feel like we're living an authentic life. And we feel that we've got an authentic voice in life, right? So for some people, there are lucky people who are always like this. From childhood, they're always super true to themselves. They're always super straightforward. They're fearless in pursuing their goals and stuff. And this is wonderful. But for a lot of people, it's not like this. Some people wake up at whatever age, 30, 40, 50, 60, realize that they haven't lived their own life. They realize they were living somebody else's life, or they were living a life that was based on fear, and this fear prevented them from really doing what they want to do, from really experiencing what they, really fancy experiencing. And this life has to be lived at some point. So why this stage, why this part is the first part of this path that is supposedly about liberation, is until we have done what we need to do, until we have fulfilled what we want to fulfill, until we have experienced what we want to experience in this mode of being, through a human body, through this personality that we create with our name and whatever, right? Until we've finished all of that stuff, till we've extracted all the juice out of that we want, then what liberation is going to happen to us, right? Liberation is when this stuff finishes. So the liberation on this path is not perceived as the result of some kind of Herculean effort where we randomly decide, I want to be enlightened. Now I sit down and practice something, I chant something, or I meditate every day for however many years, and then finally I get it. It's not like this at all. That state, that unfoldment, that process of dissolution simply just happens when nothing else can capture your attention anymore. Nothing else can capture your interest anymore. Even, some people say that they're bored and they're indifferent, but in this state, even that boredom is not interesting to you. Even that indifference or being depressed is not interesting to you. Everything falls off. But before things fall off, we have to be sure that we've tasted everything that we want to taste in this life, in this world. Otherwise, it's going to have to happen. These things are going to have to happen at some point. And these things can't just be forcefully erased. We have to go through these things. So that's the first stage, individual alignment. And the second stage is what happens basically when we're coming to the end of that. And we realize I can make the most amazing individual possible life for myself with all possible good paraphernalia, money, wealth, power, good relationships, talents, whatever things, whatever we like. I'm not saying anything against these things. They have their time, they have their place. But we realize these things are all bound in time. They come, they go. Situations fall apart, situations change, situations are altered, things are lost, things are gained. And then eventually at the end of this human life, we're wiped out. Our personality is wiped out, our body's wiped out, and we lose everything. So when we really get a feeling for this, when we really get a feeling for this impermanence, and not as a cop-out of life, not as an escape from life, this is after we really can say that, yes, I've lived honestly, I've lived authentically, I've gone after what I wanted. When we can say these things and yet we start to feel this pain, this bittersweetness of impermanence, then something curious happens, is that we just start to care less about what happens or doesn't happen. Because we see things happen, things come and things go forever. If we believe in more lives, we could say, okay, the next life I'll come back, then some experiences will come, some situations will come, and then they'll go. And as they come and as they go, I am their prisoner. I'm attached to something, I'm attached to some nice thing in my life. When it changes, when the nature of that thing changes, my mood also changes. Okay, my contentment turns to misery. So, in other words, at this stage, this second stage, we start to feel disenchanted with this whole situation. And just naturally, it's not that we stop doing anything. We can still pursue things, we can still keep things going, but we start to generally feel less attached to the objects of our desire, to the objects of our pursuits, to the objects of our ambitions. So this means we start withdrawing from this world of hope and fear, of up and down. Because fear is just the other side of desire. Desire means I want things to be like this. Fear comes into the picture when things look like they're going to be not how we want them to be. Right? But when we start getting this feeling for impermanence, we see, I can't stop everything that's coming. I can't stop everything that's going. I can't control life. I can't hold life. Right? I can't capture life. So we start getting a feeling for all of these things. And again, these things are not intellectual realizations. These things are feelings, deep feelings, and maybe even painful feelings that we get about life, right? After living fully. So as we're going through these things, being individually aligned, we're still aligned. We're still somebody who knows what they think, knows what they feel, knows what they like, knows what they don't like, is able to speak for themselves, is able to take decisions, right? We're still that person. But this energy to chase anything in this world, to pursue anything, with the feeling that this thing's going to make me happy, this thing's going to make me successful, this thing is going to change something, it's that starts diminishing, it's that feeling that starts diminishing in us. Right? And this brings us to the third stage, where the personality, the feeling of I am this, I am that, I am this name, I am this form. These things, that whole feeling, okay, of I am this personality, that is something that is created as a vessel for having the experiences that we want to experience. Right? For pursuing this, for pursuing that, for being this person that we want to be in the world. We need that feeling, that strong feeling of I am this guy or girl who wants this, who doesn't want this. When those feelings start diminishing in us, the structure of that personality, that feeling of I am this personality, I am this body, it starts to crumble. And then a time arrives naturally when that feeling of being whoever we thought we are becomes so weak and so tenuous that we're actually able to glimpse our real nature, that we're just the energy that's animating this life, and we're the essence of that energy that's unfathomable, right? So this happens. And again, this doesn't happen as a result of ambition. It happens as a result of all ambition falling away. The ambition to become something, even to become enlightened, as we still think we're going to be enlightened as this person and live our enlightened life and become a guru or whatever. It happens when all of this falls, and it happens completely naturally, right? So when this happens naturally, it's going to be permanent, because having walked this path and gone through these two aforementioned stages, we're done. We're done with all the other stuff. So we awake to that. And then we awake to that, we think, wow, this is who I really am. And with time, we get more stable in that, we get more established in that. And those things which were falling away, those things which were dissolving, they fall away and they dissolve on an even deeper level. The very roots of those things start to wither and come out. Right? And again, all of this happens perfectly naturally. A tree has a season of being a seed, of then growing, bearing fruit, and eventually it dies. Its life force runs out, and the life force that runs out on this path is not the actual energy of existence that runs out. It's the karmic energy of creating more and more experiences as this person that we think we are, creating more and more and more within that frame of reference. It's that energy, that drive, that push, that pull, that runs out, that exhausts itself. And that is what the liberation is. It's not some forced exercise. It happens when there's that exhaustion, and you can't make this happen. No matter how many books you read and think about how fantastic all this and that saint is with their powers and this and that, until you've done what you need to do here, it's not happening. Right? So that's why this path suggests, first step, make sure you're aligned with yourself. Make sure you are getting done what you need to do, experiencing what you need to experience. And once you've done that, what we call all the spiritual stuff, it'll just happen by itself. That's why it's called the natural path. Right? You know, it happens by itself. It unfolds by itself. And even if we get guidance, even if there's guru or master involved, that happens as well. We meet the right person at the right time and the connection feels right, it feels correct. We can then receive transmission from that person that helps us, that pushes us even further, that helps us dissolve. So it all proceeds like that, this path. This is the Datta path, right? So main thing on this path is to be honest. Is to be honest to ourselves about who we are and what we want. Because a lot of people say that they're interested in enlightenment, liberation, and self-realization. Why isn't that happening for them right now on the spot? Even though they can say they're really interested in it, and that's what they really want. If that's all that somebody wants, and everything else is exhausted, and by the way, if everything else is exhausted, even that desire is exhausted, for whatever we imagine enlightenment is, then that will happen, that will occur on the spot, there and then. If it's not happening on the spot in this moment, it means we have got other things to do. It means we are wanting other things. We are also not wanting other things. This happens when we have no business anymore in the world of wanting things to be a certain way and not wanting things to be another way. And that includes wanting ourselves to be enlightened. Right? It's really that stage is game over for the way you know yourself to be. Finished. And that doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come as a result of wanting things to be like this or wanting to be enlightened or whatever. It comes at the tail end of this exhaustion of a well-lived, authentic, original, honest life. And after a deep perception of the impermanence of everything, of all situations, all experiences, all bodies, and all whatever, then that just happens. So this is the Datta path. The Datta path is not a thing. It's not something else. It's not something we have to learn. It starts where we are. Okay, and it's there in us. It's always there in us as a possibility. And we unfold that possibility through these principles, through being honest to ourselves, honest to others, authentic, genuine, non-hypocritical. Okay? Being honest to ourselves about what we want and being clear about that. Right? Living an honest life, being direct, doing what we need to do, fulfilling what we want to fulfill. And the clearer that we can be about that, and the more unconflicted we can be about that, the more less hypocritical we can be about that, the quicker and smoother this whole thing will play itself out. Right, so that's how it goes. Again, this path, it's not a thing. This path is just life itself. There is no spiritual path that is separate from life itself. Everybody is a part of life. Everyone is evolving through life. Right? No matter who we think people are or what people are, what we call the actual liberation, the actual dissolution, it happens at the tail end of that, when we have fulfilled everything that we want to fulfill. Then it just happens. Then there'll be none of this nonsense, I want to get enlightened or this or that. It will just happen. Right? And then whatever else needs to be played out will be played out. Okay, in the remaining life of the physical body. So this is the Datta path. It's nothing esoteric. It's life itself. Datta is life itself. Walk this path. Main message: walk this path through being extremely honest to yourself about who you really are right now, not who you imagine yourself to be. Masters say, okay, you are the supreme consciousness, you are the self. Is that your experience? If it is, wonderful. You don't need to listen to this kind of talk. If it's not, then feel who you are now, what you really want, what you want to do, what you've got to complete in this life. And start moving through that, moving in a way where you're not conflicted with yourself. Because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you the way you are now, right? Wherever we are now, this is the perfect place to start walking. So on this Datta Jayanti, may we start walking. May we start walking with great power, great courage, great honesty, great originality. And that's it. There's nothing else to it. There's no need for dramatic statements. So, wishing everybody that watches this a good Datta Jayanti and a good rest of the year. So, blessings.